Interestingly enough, I actually had no intentions on ever talking about Me Too. I honestly thought that the whole hashtag thing was going to blow over like every hashtag movement on the internet has since, I don't know, ever. So, admittedly, I don't really know a great amount of different allegations, real or false, that have been labeled out on Twitter. I mean, the phenomenon of men, being in this whole sexual assault witch hunt is nothing new for people who've, I don't know, been talking about feminism for quite some time now, so it's not really remarkable or anything new or interesting at all. What is interesting, though, about the Me Too hashtag is, one, the fact that it's gone on as long as it has, and two, the fact that it even exists to begin with. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start off with this. There's something really interesting that I find when it comes to the Me Too hashtag. And for those of you all who don't know what the Me Too hashtag is, basically it is, I forgot what woman started it. Basically, it's a hashtag mostly women use to talk about their experiences when they were sexually assaulted with the hashtag Me Too, as in I was also sexually assaulted by some person or at some point in time. So, yeah, it's like one woman over here says, this person did this to me, and the woman next to them goes, me too. That's the basic common sense way to approach what it means. Yeah, so that's what the hashtag revolves around. It revolves around usually women talking about when they were sexually assaulted by someone, usually some famous actor, some famous producer, someone of high influence and power. Now, what I mean when I say the reason that Me Too exists is interesting, at least to me personally, is because the idea or the knowledge that sexual assault has been going on in Hollywood is actually not new information at all. In fact, lots of people have known about it for many years. I know, probably around, I would say, 2009 and 2010, there are a lot of videos on the Illuminati. And I know this sounds, off kilter, but I have a point. And in these videos about the Illuminati, there'd be a lot of conspiracy theories, obviously, and conversations about the different types of sexual abuse that occurs within actors and singers and between producers and all that jazz. It goes a little deeper than that, and there are much more heavier and more satanic implications behind the points and allegations and conspiracy theories. But the point that I'm making is the knowledge that sexual abuse goes on in Hollywood, again, is not a novel idea, and it isn't anything particularly new or unknown. So, the fact that all of a sudden now there's a hashtag about it, and now people want to talk about it, is just, at least to me, a little interesting. Albeit, I can't say convenient. I can't really play what motivation it would be, but just to me personally, it's interesting. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, and to just drive this point home, I mean, there were even talks of pedophilia going on in Hollywood too with some of the child actors. Elijah Wood, the guy who played Frodo in Lord of the Rings trilogy, yeah, even he has some quotes talking about different types of pedophilia that occurs. So this information is not new. I guess the reason why a lot of people didn't take it seriously was because the people who talked about it were talking about secret society and the Illuminati and all of that. However, the idea of sexual assault going on in this environment it's not a novel idea. We already knew, just no one talked about it. Why now is weird to me. Why it revolves around a bunch of women, that is not weird to me. People really like women, so it makes sense. So there's that aspect of Me Too that's interesting. Another thing about Me Too that's interesting, at least to me, are the allegations themselves. Now, I'm going to sound like a right dick when I talk about this subject. I already know I will. I'm going to sound like a horrible person, but someone has to say it, okay? Someone has to. Otherwise, we're just never going to be able to move forward in our society. Alright? Okay. Now, like I said earlier, as the video begins, I can't really label lots of detailed allegations, but there are some allegations that I heard. mainly between Harvey Weinstein and C.K. Louie. So let's briefly talk about Harvey Weinstein in a little bit, because there's an article I was reading that had like 80 allegations from Harvey Weinstein. And after I finished reading about, I don't know, 25 of those allegations, the only thing I walked away from was thinking, man, this nigga Harvey Weinstein really likes getting massages. So many of these allegations was Harvey Weinstein was naked and he asked me to give him a massage and blah 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 and some nonsense. Now there were some more serious allegations where Harvey Weinstein would just straight up grab the woman and just have sex with her. As crude as that, just literally, he would just pick her up and just But a lot of the other allegations, they were more, interestingly enough, more on the sexual quid pro quo type of hey, I'm a producer, I got lots of money, you know what I mean? You know, I can get you this role. That's all a lot of it was. I'm going to talk about that in detail in just a second. Before I get to that, let's move on to C.K. Louie and then jump back to the other point I was making, okay? Because these are the allegations. This is what made me stop caring about Me Too, I'm not going to lie. So, as it turns out, with C.K. Louie, this is really interesting to me, is, like, two female comedians, I think, were trying to hang out with him one day, right? And C.K. Louie asked them if he could masturbate in front of them. And according to them, they thought he was joking. Apparently, they realized he wasn't joking when he removed all his clothes and began to, you know, rub one out. Now, this is just hilarious. These women claim they were paralyzed as the fact that this man began to masturbate in front of them. Now, this is what made me just not be able to take this movement seriously anymore. Long before we even get to Aziz Ansari, which we'll talk about. This right here just alone got me. Because I was sitting here like this, right? I was like, you're a grown woman, right? Can't you just get up and leave and just walk away? Like, according to their story, it's not like C.K. Louie, like, chained them down. He didn't move in front of the door and hold his dick at gunpoint and say, you gotta let me finish. Sit down, let me finish. Like, he didn't do any of that. And according to their story, like, he asked them if he could do it. He asked for consent. Apparently, he didn't get a straight up yes, but I guess he took their laughs and their smiles as an okay. There was one woman who said she was on the phone with C.K. Louie, and she could tell that he was masturbating on the phone with her. And again, I'm reading that, and I'm like, you can't just hang up the phone? It's like, what are you? Like, are you an adult or are you a kid? Now, the thing that I feel is like this. I mean, I say, you know, here's the thing. Even if you were a 14-year-old Catholic schoolgirl who's never even heard of the word sex, right? I don't really care who you are, honestly. Like, a penis, while a strange-looking organ, should not be enough to inspire fear in the hearts and minds of anyone. Not unless that penis is like a foot long and it's about to go inside of you. Then I can understand why you would be afraid. But to just gaze upon the organ itself, I mean, it's a weird-looking thing. I'm not gonna lie, but it just doesn't really strike me as anything that's scary, you know? I mean, hearing the stories of these women complain about the fact that C.K. Louie masturbated in front of them is just remarkable to me. I mean, again, a 14-year-old schoolgirl virgin, I think, would still be able to, I don't know, remove herself from the situation should it have occurred to her, and yet these grown women couldn't do it? It honestly just makes it really hard to take some women seriously when they complain about stuff like that. So the reason why I just cannot find this, the reason why I stopped caring about Me Too was stuff like this. Because I realized this is actually entirely true. C.K. Louie actually admitted to doing this. And then I read this article where he apologized and he talked about how I didn't realize that when you're a person of power and influence that you scare people or something along those lines. He's like, because I have all this power and influence, I thought what I was doing was okay, but it wasn't. And I honestly read that and I was like, CK Louie is getting a lot of flack for this, but he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he did something weird, like really weird. I don't really get why he would want to masturbate in front of these women. I don't know. I don't understand it. But he didn't do anything wrong. Yet despite the fact that he didn't do anything wrong, he's in here apologizing for it. The fact that these women would claim that he ruined their comedy dreams of being a stand-up comedian when he masturbated in front of them is a little interesting to me still even more, because I would imagine CK Louie masturbating in front of you would be a hilarious sight. And you could make lots of jokes and materials off that alone, but I guess they weren't that creative. I know I kind of sound like I may be a little callous, like I'm not really, compassionate or even understanding to their ordeal. But honestly, if some person started masturbating in front of me, like, I'm just going to leave. And if someone was to ask me, hey, is it okay if I began to masturbate in front of you? I'm just going to be like, honestly, I would rather if you didn't. I would rather if you, not. But another thing that kind of gets me is I was thinking, like, well, what if a woman asked me if it was okay to masturbate in front of me? Like if Heinle Steinfeld, you guys know who that is? It's this woman right here. If this woman right here, she was like, hey, would it be okay if I, roped one out right now? I'm not going to lie. I probably wouldn't say no. I probably would be like, would it be okay if I, can I stay? Is that what you want? Can I get a picture, Just I'm not going to get your face in it. Can I get your body, though? Can I record? Just like 30 seconds. I don't need the whole thing, That's me. If Hailee Steinfeld decided she wanted to masturbate in front of me, I'm not gonna be upset about it. I'm not gonna cry about it. I don't know. Even if it was some ugly woman, even if the woman was like totally just, I don't know, repulsive, and she asked me, hey, can I masturbate in front of you? Again, my reply would be, I would rather if you, not. But if you feel so compelled to do so, I'm just going to see myself out. I'm just going to leave. And I figure you can do that. I don't know, when you have, common sense, I don't know. I don't even know what word to use here. Just, basic functioning cognitive system. So this is how I couldn't take Me Too seriously. I was like, if we're going to be throwing men under the bus because they have weird sexual proclivities, then I don't want to have anything to do with this, and I just don't care. And I figured it was just going to blow over eventually. But it did. There's another thing that gets me about Me Too. What gets me about Me Too is the fact that it's a lot of really famous women who are talking about how these producers, had sex with them and whatnot. And some of these allegations go back years, like back in time. Like there's one allegation from Harvey Weinstein in the 70s. It's like almost 40, 50 years ago? I'm not going to do the math. You guys do the math. But the thing that gets me about it is, I know I keep saying that, but there's lots of things that get me. And what gets me right now I'm going to talk about is the fact that this has been going on for decades. Decades. You mean to tell me that for 30, 40 years, you remember Harvey Weinstein doing what he did to you? You didn't say anything. And you knew that he was going to perhaps do this to someone else. And you still didn't say anything. Why would you then now, decades later, bring it up when you can do nothing about it? This is very peculiar to me. This is very strange to me. I don't get this. Some people would say, I remember I was watching Joe Rogan, one of his podcasts, say,
versus the number of rapes that don't get reported.
It's like it's a drop in the bucket. And when guys go, well, why don't girls report it? Dude, you don't like going to jury duty. And that's a week. You think a girl wants to talk about her fucking vagina for a year and a half?
Not just that, the stigma of running around knowing that everybody knows you were raped. Like having that feeling where people are judging you or staring at you or talking about you.
A lot of people ask, how come women just don't go to the authorities? How come women don't tell people? They want to spend a year of their life in the court system, recounting the time they were raped again over and over again. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So you're defending the idea that women don't go to the authorities or the police because if they take it to court, then it'll be a huge chunk of their life, talking about this. But you're alright with them sending an innocuous tweet that accomplishes nothing when this information could have saved the vaginas of numerous women after her in the course of decades. Like, think about this one for a second. If one woman over in the 70s or 80s would have said something about Harvey Weinstein, that's 20 years or 30 years of protection, or at least the knowledge or wariness of other women in this scenario with Harvey Weinstein. That's what one allegation could have done. One allegation all that time ago could have saved all of these women. And what's interesting to me is the fact that no one brings that up. That if you would have gone to the authorities or said something then, perhaps could have saved numerous other women from having to suffer the same fate. Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, doing it now, 40 years later with no hope of justice occurring except the court of public opinion, it's just weird to me. I don't really see how you could gain solace in the fact that now you're vindicated on Twitter because you made a tweet when you could have actually been vindicated by saving the vaginas of many other women before you, or after you, rather. It's weird to me. I don't get it. I don't get where the vindication comes from. But there's another thing that bothers me about Me Too. What bothers me about Me Too is the fact that, again, there's a lot of famous women doing this. A lot of famous actresses. I know that's not a word. And what bothers me about this is the fact that a lot of this stuff is quid pro quo. You suck my dick. I'm going to get you this role. And for a lot of women like that. And what bothers me is the fact that you have these women who are essentially prostituting themselves for lots of wealth and power and money, reneging on the deal. Now, there might be some stuff to say about honor, like, you don't renege. You don't have the bargain of, hey, I'm going to do this sexual favor for you, and then years later be upset about it. Like, you can't. I mean, you can, but at the same time, you really can't be upset about that fact because you ended up profiting a lot more than any other woman ever. Like, if you really, put this into perspective of women who masturbate on the internet, like right now, like webcam models, like, to be an actress, media producer, do a sexual favor and skyrocket to never have to do another thing again. It's just, the balance is just unreal. And by the way, I'm not praising these women for it. It's actually quite the opposite. What bothers me about this is none of this stuff could have happened if these actresses had integrity. If these actresses were put the deal that if you do something for me, I'm going to get you this, and they had the integrity to say, no, nigga. That's it. Now, of course, again, in some of the cases where Harvey Weinstein just grabs them, well, that's different. But in the quid pro quo type situations, which they're now having buyer's remorse about, if they had just would have at any point in time just been like, listen, I want to be in your movie, but nah, I'm not doing what you're asking me to do. Done. But they didn't. And that bothers me. It bothers me that there aren't very many people who bring that up. That a lot of these women, that they weren't raped, they just have buyer's remorse. Why? Now, I don't know, but yeah. And then there's Oprah's speech, which will be the last thing I talk about when it comes to Me Too, and then we're going to move on to Aziz Ansari. Oprah's speech bothered me a lot because it seems there's the implication that Oprah, one of the most influential women of all time, had no idea that any of this stuff was happening. So she gets on stage and she goes, your time is up. We're going to get you guys. But it's so hollow, just in essence and even in application, that it means nothing. And yet, despite the fact that a speech that literally accounts to meaning nothing galvanized so many. I was watching adults react to Oprah's speech. And all these people were all being really sycophantic about Oprah's speech. They're like, oh my gosh, oh yes, Oprah, yes. Oprah really means what she says. And I'm like, you do realize there's like pictures of Oprah kissing Harvey Weinstein, right? Like on the internet. Like, you know that, right? Apparently I don't know that, but I know that. You mean to tell me Oprah never knew this about Harvey Weinstein? She didn't have any information at all. This woman here, Oprah. You know, maybe she didn't. Maybe she had no idea. Maybe she did not. And if she didn't, fine. But how exactly is this hollow, your time is up, going to accomplish or do anything if these are all allegations that are past the statute of limitation? It's just this ball of emotion that just makes you feel good at the time, but when you put some thought into it, you realize that you're not accomplishing or doing anything. If you're not accomplishing or doing anything, then what are you so giddy and excited about? I don't know. So that's that about Oprah's speech. So now, a lot of people think the death nail of Me Too has been hammered in with this recent thing that happened with Aziz Ansari. And basically, what happened with Aziz Ansari is same thing that happens to every guy and girl in this hookup culture. Aziz wanted to have sex with her. She didn't want to have sex with him. At no point did she say she didn't want to have sex with him. And now she's upset at the fact that he tried to have sex with her when she didn't want to have sex, and her self-esteem is somehow hurt by that. That's the Cliff Notes version. I'm going to make an entire video about it, by the way, but this is just, that's the Cliff Notes version. She's saying that I was sexually assaulted. Me too. I feel your pain, ladies. You were taken advantage of because I went out with Aziz Ansari and he tried to have sex with me when I didn't want to have sex with him. Now this is interesting to me. It's interesting to me because there is no hint of irony in this story. That this woman recounted her story to this publication, and at no point did she ever stop and say, you know, wait a minute, hold on. You know, I kinda went back to his house. I kinda, accepted the dinner he bought for me. I kinda gave him my phone number. I kinda, dressed in the manner of which he asked me to dress in. It's entirely possible that this guy kind of wants to have sex with me. Like, it seemed like at no point did that ever occur to you. You know what I mean? Like at what point did you not realize that this is what his objective was? And this bothers me a great deal because you either have to be stupid or you have to be stupid to not know that Aziz Ansari was trying to have sex with you that night. Like you can't honestly expect me to believe that when you got out of the restaurant to go back to Aziz's apartment or house, that you were thinking, oh man, we're gonna go back, hook up the GameCube and play Legend of Zelda, Legend of the Four Swords. You know what I mean? Like there's no way she thought, we're gonna hook up the Sega Genesis and we're gonna speedrun Castlevania. You knew. So again, it's the total lack of self-awareness in this woman being upset about what happened with Aziz Ansari is remarkable to me. Not even the total lack of responsibility, but just not realizing that her story is not one of sexual assault, and it is not even the equivalent of anything that has occurred with any woman ever who's been sexually assaulted. It's actually exactly like, well, not exactly, but very similar to the same thing that happened with C.K. Louie, which I said earlier in the video. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about Aziz Ansari in its own video, but I just want to close the video out with this. I'm going to close the video out with, the whole Me Too hashtag is very interesting. Not because of the witch hunt mentality. That's old news. Well, it's not really old news, but it's old information. We already knew that this stuff happens to men. I mean, it happened to James Dean. It happened to one of Kesha's producers, I think it was, or some manager, I believe. I forget. The whole idea of a woman saying an allegation and the man losing everything he owned because of it, it's not new. But what is interesting, at least to me, is the fact that Me Too somehow circulates the information of sexual abuse in Hollywood like for years no one knew what was going on. But the fact that people don't call out these women for what they are, and that is for some of these women, they are genuine whores. And that's not me being facetious, that's not me being mean. Genuinely, they whored themselves out to these powerful men and had sex with them and slept with them. And now they're upset about it. See, but this is the thing that gets me. This is where we're going to close the video out. I have a secret. This is a secret that I think every woman needs to know. Don't tell anyone this. Do not tell anyone this very important secret, okay? But ladies, here's something that you probably haven't realized. But a lot of men spend their whole lives getting a bunch of power and influence specifically so they can have an easier time having sex with women. Don't tell anyone that. Keep that between you and me. I mean, seriously, am I honestly supposed to be upset at the fact that some men use the fact that they have lots of money and power and influence to have sex with really easy women? I can be disappointed. I can be sad. I can say they probably shouldn't do that because sex is something that should be reserved for your wife when you're married. I can say all those things, but can I be upset at the fact that powerful men had sex with women? Not really. And the reason why is because it works. It is a successful mating strategy. Having lots of money, power, wealth, and influence attracts women to you. And if these women are going to be whores about it and use their bodies in order to get advantages in life other people can't have, honestly, I find it very difficult to sympathize with them now that they're upset at the fact that they sucked a dick or they had sex with a producer that they really didn't find attractive because they wanted a role in a movie. I mean, you can be upset about it, but I can't. Because if these women just had an inkling of integrity, had a little bit of self-respect, and were to say, you know what? You might ruin me in Hollywood. You might be mad at me. You might do X, Y, and Z. But I'm not going to suck your dick. I'm not going to have sex with you. I'm not going to let you masturbate in front of me. I'm not going to let you do this to me. Because I respect myself more than I want whatever you're offering. If more women were like that, this wouldn't be a problem. Now, some people will say I'm victim blaming. But I say, no, I'm not victim blaming. I'm saying those women aren't victims. So that being said, man, I sure hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.